Yes, greetings folks. So, I was informed about this little scuffle by my friend Vex, but before I don my intellectual top hat here, I must address this whole situation because it's very petty and stupid and makes no sense whatsoever. AKA, it is exactly the kind of thing my audience expects me to be blunt force trauma about. So this is between Josie, the redheaded libertarian, and Rachel Wilson, Andrew Wilson's wife. Now, I happen to like Josie. I happen to be quite fond of libertarian ideals. Much of my monarchical thought is based on it. All hail Hans Hermann Hoppe and Ludwig von Mises. I even did a video poaching a piece by the Mad Monarchist several years ago about why all libertarians should be monarchists, and I'm friends with Rachel's husband Andrew, and I have a lot of overlap with the bloke, so all things considered, I'm fairly 50-50 here. One can always consider me an honorable and just metalhead and be a cold-hearted logical asshole. Besides, I'm very open about my bias. I'm a monarchist. Yay, democracy is cringe and gay. Representation sucks ass, and women need to get the hell out of politics. So what kicked all of this off is this. Been sent this clip a dozen times. Here is my response.
We wanted to talk about the e-girls today, didn't we? The right-wing e-girls and this phenomenon of like
the paradox.
Yeah, the paradox of having a girl in a bikini selling coffee or beer or being on a calendar. Take those women, and I got into some trouble at the beginning of the year with a certain person who was baking a cake about this too, right?
You're bringing up Josie. Like, Josie's not the main representative.
Well, she was baking a pie.
I know, or whatever.
We shouldn't take those women, push them to the front, and make them like the political mouthpieces for the right wing. Because if you were to be like, hey, what's the Fourth Amendment? They're going to be like, I don't.
The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched or the persons or things to be seized. That means that the government can't search you or take your things without a warrant issued by a judge and secured by evidence.
That is a little selectively edited, shall we say. How about we watch the whole thing unedited?
So we wanted to talk about the e-girls today, didn't we? The right-wing e-girls and this phenomenon of like
the paradox.
Yeah, the paradox of having a girl in a bikini selling coffee or beer or being on a calendar.
Lily
Those were the
just did that. Are you making fun of Lily now?
No, but Lily didn't like pre-plan this either, right? She didn't like plot to have a career based off of this. She had a viral moment because she said something edgy and she's beautiful. And so the next thing is a right-wing company is going to approach and be like, would you like the sponsorship so you can sell our beer? Or,
we like conservative dads love to write beer.
Right?
Yeah, and I like women in bikinis. I mean,
I have no problem with that.
I think that that's fine. But what we shouldn't do is take those women, and I got into some trouble at the beginning of the year with a certain person who was baking a cake about this too, right? We shouldn't take those women, push them to the front, and make them like the political mouthpieces for the right wing. Because if you were to be like, hey, what's the Fourth Amendment? They're going to be like, I don't.
Yeah, but I want to combat this. I hate that because they always accuse me of that. You're bringing up Josie. Like, Josie's not the main representative.
Well, she was baking a pie.
I know.
So Rachel says, Josie, I wasn't talking about you. Alex thought I was, but I was talking about another infamous incident near the beginning of the year. Relax. Which is true, Josie. At no point does Rachel mention you. Josie replies, Rachel Isabella wasn't in the calendar that you referenced. I was. So was Riley Gaines and Ashley Sinclair and Dana Lash and other beautiful, intelligent, incredible women. At no point did you differentiate which women, e-girls, plural, were intelligent and who was a bimbo. With Rachel firing back, what are you mad about anyway? Are you mad that I didn't say you are the smartest lady on the whole internet? What did you want from me? What can I do for you? Tell me how I can make you happy, queen. It's a bit snarky, but Rachel is totally in the right here, so I will let that one slide. Josie, I just want to know, what is driving this passive-aggressive, mean girl attitude you have towards women who have more influence than you, princess? And this is where I side wholeheartedly now with Rachel, because now it turns into a follower count dick measuring contest with this idiot over here doing the measuring. And much like Rachel, I too am wondering, what part of Rachel wasn't frickin' talking about her do you people not understand? Because I'm reading, watching the clip, asking myself the same question, how the hell did we get here? Josie, at no point does Rachel mention you. Alex did. She doesn't even mention your calendar, she mentions a calendar. She mentions the baking of a cake. No one on your calendar was baking a cake, my dear. And also that you got into trouble for it earlier on in the year. If that was you, you could have chastised Rachel for bringing that all up again, which you did not do, which leads me to conclude, you know she wasn't talking about you, and given all of the above, she doesn't need to differentiate which women e-girls were intelligent and who was a bimbo, because the cast you're referencing on this thread is not mentioned by her either. Which begs the question, why the hell did you respond to this at all? Why did you not simply say to the people messaging you, I am not mentioned here? Then you post this kind of crap, and you have the audacity to try and take the high ground saying, I will not lower myself to a debate, when you were the one conjuring up the drama at a woman that never even mentioned nor engaged you at all. Given your bratty, nonsensical behavior then, it appears you're trying to start drama for no reason other than engagement, which ultimately proves Rachel's point that women shouldn't be involved in politics. But hey, what do I know? I just have a massively unfair advantage. I have a penis, which bestows upon me the magical power of logic. Again, every time, regardless of political affiliation, women simply do not understand the concept of function because they're not wired for it. That's what men are for. And even then, only a select class of men, because if the comments on that thread are anything to go by, man, the simply is pathetic. But let me just point something out here, because the cake lady Isabella, I did make a video on that whole thing, and I defended her, primarily because I was hungry and I wanted the cake. I still remember watching that thinking, my word, the amount of butter in this, that thing must be unholy levels of rich. I'd have watched that video even if she was wearing an apron, by the way. Hell, if I watch men cooking, which I do, I don't see why I wouldn't watch a woman baking for the same reason. The reason I defended that is because the reaction to that whole fiasco provoked within me the inner libertarian that lurks within us all. Well, at least those of us in the Western Hemisphere who still happen to be sane. All of us are libertarians when it comes to any activity we know we can self-regulate. As such, we get massively irritated when things get abused or blamed for ill consequences because this invites state intervention, which libertarians naturally abhor. So for example, sugar gets blamed for diabetes and obesity, and so you will see the introduction of, say, a sugar tax, for example. Alcoholism is a problem, and so the price of alcohol becomes insane, and so I, the six-pack having whiskey drink over here, must suffer the consequence, all because of the behavior of a bunch of fat-ass diabetic alcoholics. Needless to say, there is a reason why I buy all of my whiskey from Estonia. The same thing with Isabella, who baked the cake. There is an oversaturation of sexual degeneracy in our society to the point where the girl can't even have a chest and bake a damn cake without the comment section being full of drool. That is ultimately the problem. It's not her, it's the reaction to her. If the men were all simply acknowledging her beauty without being classless about it, I can't imagine anyone would actually care, all things considered. But I will get to more of this in a bit. Let's see what Rachel has to say in this clip.
My point early on about the paradox of like the trad personalities, these women who are like, women should be mothers and at home, and check out my company for which I'm a millionaire with 1 million followers. I'm unmarried and I live in,
right.
You know, like there's a lot of, it's paradoxical.
It is.
I don't care. I mean, like the circumstances, but it's an interesting paradox.
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is. I don't know who's right or wrong. I know many women who advocate for traditional values, and they are single, wealthy girl bosses.
Right, so allow me to give my take on this phenomenon. In case this isn't massively obvious by now, I am not exactly a fan of the modern Western woman, and so my perspectives tend to be rather heretical. Classic division of labor. Men are superior. We are bigger, we are stronger, faster, and smarter. We are colder, more logical, less emotional, more stress-resistant. We are designed to create civilization with our heads and our hands. Women are designed to facilitate this through their birth canal. And that's just how our species functions, right? Women live in societies created by men, and they exist only with the liberties and opinions the men around them allow them to have. If you put a female in any society and you tell them, this is what you will do, these are your expected duties, and there is a mechanism in place by which they will face ostracization from the tribe for failing to adhere to them, they will perform as expected because women are natural followers. The girl boss phenomenon is an inversion of the natural state, a perversion, courtesy of modernity, designed to turn women into discount men, organs of production, or to expand the pool of taxable peons to enrich the coffers of the state.
Yeah, and I think this is how we end up with a conservative right wing, which, by the way, because of this, I don't call myself conservative or traditional, because nobody knows what tradition, and we haven't conserved jack crap. So I say I'm a Christian patriarchist, which is something of a redundancy, but it lets you know what my beliefs are. I think we end up with a right wing Republican Party where all of the famous people are Caitlyn Jenner, Lauren Boebert, it's like Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's Rick Grenell. So we end up with women and gays and, all these people that you wouldn't think would be pushing traditional American conservative values, because we're like, well, we have to appeal to everyone. We have to have a big tent, and everybody likes pretty girls, and this gay guy is really cool. So we're going to so it's like, how are we different from the left? It's a uniparty now. How are we different from the Democrat Party? We're just like the same social liberals, but with like a little bit less taxes, or we love corporations more?
She just indirectly summed up why democracy sucks ass, by the way. Well done, but I will let it cook for a bit more.
My issue with only men voting is that half of guys are dumb as a box of rocks. And so, George Carlin famously said, think about how stupid the average person is. Now realize half of them are stupider than that. With greater male variability, are you familiar with?
Yes.
You guys are familiar with greater male variability? Guys tend to vary more across the board on every subject relative to women. Women tend to be stable, men tend to vary. So there's more weak men, there's more strong men, women are average. There's more stupid guys, there's more smart guys, women have a tighter bell curve. So imagine this. Most women, so we're talking half the country, and let's say, 65-70% of them are of average intelligence. And then you have men where half are above average and half are below average. And then without universal voting, you have a large portion of women who are smarter than really dumb guys, and those dumb guys are voting. That's still a problem.
Okay, I can't spoil too much here because I'm working on this mammoth piece where I set constitutionalism and democracy on fire and then ask the blessing of the gods for doing so. But this analysis is so pleb-brained and shallow. So many things are built on false assumptions. Never mind, I'll just let it run.
That might still be a problem, but I think everybody's probably seen the maps, the graphs that show what would happen if you took women out of the voting pool. You'd basically never have any left-wing stuff passing ever again. Yep. So that's a factor. And that's because even dumb guys prefer to have the ability to take risk for more gain. They're not as security oriented. They're not going to be voting for a nanny state. They're not going to be voting for open borders, that sort of thing. There's a lot of ways you could fix voting, I think. But the problem is now we've told everybody that universal suffrage democracy is the American way, which Tim would tell you is not how the country was founded. And if you say only certain people should be able to vote now, you're called like an elitist.
Now, you see, I advocate for going a few steps further and doing away with it altogether.
Or people will say, oh, you're not.
Oh, we got to restrict voting like crazy.
Well, I think it's good, like, if you let people, when you think about the single women that are tanking, the vote, that are all voting liberal, it's because they don't have kids, they don't own property, they don't have any skin in the game. So what are they voting for? Right. Oh, abortion rights, or oh, they'll give me free money or they'll pay for my college. So if you let only people who have, like, own property or have kids, they've got stake in the game. Like, they're going to be voting for bigger problems, even though they're like, well, we don't like the guy, but he's, going to push for initiatives because that's going to help the country. That's what I think. I think only landowners and, like, people with families should vote because they have stake in the game.
Okay, this is where I disagree. Let's not get into the merits of voting because that's a whole nother story. But if it's family orientated, why not just have the men vote? If you're in a traditional household either way, only the head of the household should have a say. See, this perspective assumes that men and women are still largely the same, and with the variable of the stake, any difference will dissipate once this variable is added. It also assumes the stake will somehow forge similar voting patterns, and I see no reason for this at all, because women do not vote based on the reality of the world around them or the proper allocation of resources that will produce a better functioning nation state. If they were hardcore materialists of the capitalistic variety, well then all the single women trying to get ahead would all vote Republican, and they don't. Women are hardwired to seek protection and power from men because they are weaker, which is why they always favor growing the state. Considering this is how men are naturally orientated to begin with, I see no functionally beneficial reason for why women should engage in politics at all.
I'm with you on the whole American system, and I get a ton of, crap about that too. I think that we have like a liberal Enlightenment founding that was going to end up here. That's my personal opinion on it. But since we have this illusion of there's a left wing and a right wing, and there is, like among the actual population to a degree, there are people who believe a set of beliefs that are more progressive left wing and people who believe a set of beliefs that are more family oriented and I guess we would say like conservative or Christian. And I just don't understand how Christian conservatives are being represented by people who are pushing the gay agenda, people who are pushing feminism, people who are pushing the trans agenda, and we're going to just like wave them into TPUSA and be like, yes, have the Boss Babe conference, have the LGBT like big tent thing. It's like,
yes, democracy. I'll give a TLDR version here. Politicians will never ever represent the mass. They will just use it to get consensus to do whatever the hell they want, because that is how democracy ends up manifesting. The will of the majority, which doesn't exist. They're a class of people with essentially unaccountable power. Why on earth would they care what you think? Oh, because of the Constitution. Okay, so you believe in magic, basically.
So I would love if we had representation for traditional-minded Americans who are family-oriented and Christian. That's a lot of the population. I don't feel like we have representation right now. Who would it be?
Okay, question for all of you. Why would any politician care to represent you? What do they get out of it? Especially if what the people want is less government. For what reason would people in government support this? There is no alignment between Washington, D.C. and the average American at all. It's a system of government with absolutely no animating principles of honor or duty whatsoever, and is simply bought by anyone with a disposable income. The US doesn't have a government, it's a mafia racket.
So, yeah, I mean, on the Republican right, where we're supposed to be catering, when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, it was like, oh, you got to cater to the evangelicals, you got to cater to the Christian right-wing conservatives. But we don't do any of that anymore. Now it's like our side wants, we need a woman president, we need women senators and the female governors that are supposed to be conservative. Have you taken a look at any of them lately and how they behave and what they do? These are not, but why would we be surprised? Why would we be surprised that when we hire a woman to govern a state that it's going to turn out that she's like a hot chick who's divorced and, making out with dudes in a theater? Or
you are right. Kristi Noem lying about her dead dog, or actually she killed the dead dog and then lied about Kim Jong-un. That is sick. You actually are right.
Well, and she's another one that if you look at a picture of her 10 years ago and now her entire face is Botox and fillers and she's gotten all this work done. And it's like she looks like a Kardashian to me, and I can't tell the difference policy-wise or HR, or PR-wise, what the difference is between our right-wing conservative women and Hollywood leftist women. They seem the same to me. They look the same, they talk the same, they act the same, they live the same kind of lifestyles.
Yes, it's almost like women have no thoughts of their own whatsoever, and once they have power, will all overwhelmingly behave in the exact same way. Oh, what's up, Aristophanes?
So I'm just looking for where's the representation for people like me, that what I care about is my 5 kids and hopefully the dozen or so grandkids I will get from my kids if I'm lucky, Lord willing, right? I want a future for my kids and my grandkids, and none of these people are helping me with that.
And they are never going to, because a democratically elected representative is nothing more than a temporary caretaker who will exploit the hell out of their stint in power, loot the place dry, and get the fuck out of Dodge. And then the next person will come in and do the exact same thing. What a terrible system of government this is. Cheers for watching, and once again, I apologize for nothing.